This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Ki finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts, only at theaters February 7th.
This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Watch Unstoppable now, exclusively on Amazon Prime Video.
Yes, I am still alive, and I still plan to do this podcast. I'm sorry it's been so long since I've had an episode out. It's been a few months. I know, people. I get it. And I really do appreciate the fact that I get messages from people that either have been a listener of the podcast for a while. Sometimes they're local people that I know that listen to my podcast, which is always a little strange to me. They're like, hey, when are you going to do another episode or whatever? But frequently it's somebody that sends me an email or they send me a Facebook message and they're like, hey, I just discovered your podcast and I've been going through all the different episodes and I was wondering if you're going to be doing a new one or if you're still doing the podcast. And I'm always like, yeah, I am. I'm planning on doing a new one. And I'm not lying. I know it's like I say I plan on doing a new one and then it's another month goes by or something like that and I haven't done one. They're like, yeah, whatever. But I always do have those intentions and I do always have the intentions of continuing to do the podcast. But man, a lot of life things got in the way. That's what the deal is with everybody, I guess. I'm not trying to act like my life is more special than anybody else's because it certainly isn't. But, sometimes, certain priorities that you have, and I'd like to make this podcast a big priority, but, I'm a high school teacher, so I've got to do those things because that pays the bills. I've got a family like a lot of you guys out there, and I've got to do things with them and I want to do things with them. I've got other friends and colleagues and stuff that are important to me as well. And so those things kind of happen and I've always got to be in a certain frame of mind for me to do an episode of the podcast. Maybe too much so sometimes. I like to have different segments. I like to have a variety of different things on each episode if I can, It's usually always in the back of my mind. Sometimes I'll write things down. Sometimes I'll research a few things and then I put stuff together. I know an episode might be 30 minutes or 45 minutes or maybe even an hour, but it takes me a few hours to get all that stuff, to record it, to research it, to kind of edit it together so it sounds reasonably well with the limited resources I have for doing that kind of editing and everything. So that's like time I've got to really kind of cut out of my life to make sure that happens. And I want to do it well. I don't want to do a half-assed job, to put it mildly, right? But anyway, I know I haven't done one. I'm done teaching for this year. My school year ended last week. I'm a high school teacher, as I said, My umpiring's kind of wound down the last few weeks. All my assigning responsibilities have kind of come down to a more manageable level the last few weeks. So I'm sitting here and I can put something out there. I don't think it's going to be exactly the ideal thing that I want, but I want to make sure that people know that I'm still around and that I'm still planning on doing this, and I'm going to try to get it going again in the way that I've done it in the past. That's my goal. All right. So what is the reasons that I kind of halted on things? There are several. I don't know if you'll be interested or not, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because, I've had people ask. So first, I took on the responsibility through our local high school association, the West Michigan Umpire Association, of being like the baseball director. Our baseball director stepped down, so I kind of stepped in, started doing it. It's an elected position on the board. It's not like you get paid or something, but basically you run all the training for the high school umpires in the area. So I felt like I could probably do a pretty solid job with that. I have an educational background. I've got pretty good experience as an umpire, so I can combine those two together and put something together that's pretty reasonable and effective and useful to people. That's really what I want. Kind of like what I do with the podcast, right? But that took so much more time and effort than I ever imagined that it would. I have to admit that. All right. It was something that was very time consuming. So I would, teach all day or whatever, like everybody else does as a teacher, 7:30 to 2:30, get home, do whatever, eat dinner, this or that. Then we'd have a meeting, 6 o'clock for the rookies. So 6 to 7, I'm doing some stuff with the rookies. And then we might have like a little bit of a general meeting or maybe not. And another hour and a half or so with the general membership of the baseball umpires. So that's like 2.5 hours. And man, it seemed like every week we had something, or at least every other week. And then we'd have some training sessions at an offsite location, which was really useful. But again, takes up time and things. You got to make sure you have some things together. We, of course, had a clinic. That takes up some time as well. So I felt like, and I like doing that. Don't get me wrong. I love talking baseball and umpiring. I love trying to help people reach whatever the next level is that they want to get to. And so I like giving back because I had a lot of people that gave to me that allowed me to get to where I have been and continue to be, okay? So I don't mind that. But all that time certainly took away from potential time I could be doing a podcast. If I wasn't doing that, I might have done a couple of episodes here and there. So that's probably the biggest thing. Then, I'm just teaching, going along, doing my stuff. Baseball season starts. I had a good season. I was able to do quite a few collegiate games, and I did high school games as well. A handful of those. I took on the assigning role for the varsity assigning here in the area. I was also assigning my travel team tournaments and stuff that they had in the spring and those kind of things too. So that's always a big thing. The assigning stuff always is. I was able to do another NCAA Division III Regional this year, so that was a nice accomplishment. I ended up going back to Whitewater, Wisconsin, like I had done a couple of years ago. Worked some postseason baseball as well for like conference tournaments and things like that. So yeah, it was a good season. Did I get the schedule that I had gotten the year before? No, not quite, but that's the way it goes sometimes. But I still had a good schedule, and I was, happy with that. But the other thing is I just found myself this year, for the first time in maybe the 18 years or so I've been doing this, just feeling a bit burned out mentally and sometimes physically too. I've had knee surgeries and stuff from umpiring, meniscus surgeries on my knees. And a long time ago, I had back surgery and stuff like that. So I get around pretty good. If you see me umpiring, I think I move around well. And you might think, oh, yeah, it looks good. It looks like he's pretty athletic. Sometimes it's like smoke and mirrors, man, because I go as hard as I can out there. But then I get done with the game, and it's like, man, my knees are killing me, or I'm just sore. And I know some other guys are like that too. And I'm in my 50s now, so I'm not as old as a lot of guys are. But sometimes it's a struggle, all right? So I had that. But then there were times where I'm dealing with things, and I dealt with things just fine. Throughout the season, I didn't really have too many issues or anything. But there was those times where I felt like I just don't want to be here. And I really hadn't really experienced it at times. And that could be at any level of baseball I was working. Now, I would give it 101% every time and do everything I was supposed to. But I found myself more often than not feeling like, yeah, I just want this to end. I just want to go home. Whereas usually you're just kind of fighting through stuff and you're concentrating and doing whatever you need to do. But I found that happen. And there's always those times where you're like that. I mean, I know some of you out there are probably like that too, especially like you're working a summer league game. You're like, I wish the time limit went in this game. I wish this game would just, that one team would get the mercy or whatever and the game's over. I'm not saying that. I mean, that's always the case. But even for maybe higher level games that I have that probably some people would love to have, I just got like, a little burned out on things. Maybe because I've been doing a lot. I've been pushing to do certain things and accomplish certain things in my umpiring career. And I've been very lucky that I've been able to accomplish pretty much all of the things I've wanted to accomplish as an umpire. I guess the only thing I have that I would like to accomplish, which I don't know if I'll ever be able to, is to get to a World Series. And I'm not talking a D1. I'll never get to that. But like maybe a Division III World Series or an NAIA World Series or a JUCO World Series, just to do something like that. D2, I don't know if that's really in the cards for me either. I mean, I think it's slightly is, but definitely D3, NAIA, JUCO is more in my repertoire, I guess. So I haven't done that. I'd like to. I don't know if that'll happen. But, I've done different series. I know that I'm not going to be full-time every weekend Big Ten and Mid-American Conference or whatever umpire. There's lots of guys that are coming out of the pro ball that have been around a long time that are really accomplished umpires. That's where they're at. So I understand where I'm at in the whole pecking order of things. So I get that. I think I've kind of peaked, to a point. And I think once I've kind of reached that kind of drive to get to that next level, and I know that I've kind of peaked to a point, maybe that's what kind of wore me down. And some of those things kind of come back to just the drive of talking about umpiring and doing the things, for the podcast that I do, because, I mean, I think it kind of connects to it. I think that kind of figures into why maybe I haven't done things too. I don't know. I feel like sometimes I got to step away a little bit, and I think you do need to do that, or you need to cut back on some of the games. I'm not saying I'm going to step away from the field. I still plan to umpire and everything, but I have cut back on games the last few years. And I was like some of you out there where I would do a lot of games every year. And I know some people do more, but I would do at least 100, 150 games a year, all things combined, from the spring all the way through the fall or whatever. Now I might do like 70, And if I do less, that's okay. I mean, I just do a select amount of games and block off certain dates, and that's okay. I kind of feel like I need to do that. And I guess that's one of my points here on this episode, that first one in forever, I guess, is that I feel like you gotta know what your limits are. And you gotta know where you're at and be able to accurately self-evaluate yourself. To not get yourself burned out, because I've seen guys that have done a lot and accomplished some things, and then they just quit. Cold turkey, boom, gone. I saw that happen to a guy in my area just a few years ago now. It's probably been 3 or 4 years. Had been doing really well, moving up the ladder, through high school and college games, getting some D1 stuff, getting some D3 postseason things, some things that I've accomplished. And then for various reasons, or maybe conflicts of personalities or other things that happen, boom, just quit the whole thing. And some people are like, why would you do that? Well, I mean, sometimes I understand why. I mean, I've gotten to that point in my career where I can see why somebody says, forget it, man. I'm done. I've done what I can. I don't need that anymore. Because sometimes it's like, do I feel like dealing with these coaches? If I step on the field, I'm going to deal with them the way I've been taught to deal with them. But sometimes you're like, do I want to do that anymore? I could just be doing something else that's more pleasant.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first, like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
And so when you start thinking that's the road you go down, where you think, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I saw a guy this year that was an accomplished umpire too, doing very well in the collegiate game, getting some good assignments, former pro and everything, and had some different situations happen. Boom, just quit. And again, I can understand why you might do that. Some people would be like, what the heck, man? This guy had this, this guy had that. But, I think sometimes I think it's better to cut back on what you're doing. And I think it's better to understand your frame of mind and, your mindset, and know that you might need a little time away from things to kind of reinvigorate yourself and refresh yourself, so that you can go at it with a better mindset and not have something to set you off so that you just drop it all at some point. And this doesn't just apply to baseball umpiring. I mean, I'm sure it can apply to any sport that you might officiate. Some guys, they do sports all year and they're able to handle that. Maybe they need to do that because it helps them pay the bills and stuff. For me, certainly I love any of the money I can make from officiating, but it all pays for lots of extra things that are important to me and that I, certainly would like to have the money for, but it doesn't pay my car payment or pay for my food or my housing or something like that. My regular job does that stuff. So it's a little bit easier to step away if you've got something else that is, filling in on your income and things like that. So those things, I guess I just got kind of a little bit burned out. I've been going hard for the last several years, and so I think I kind of stepped away a little bit from the podcast too. But I do like giving back and trying to teach people the things that I've figured out and that I've been taught, and I think it's about, 50-50 at least on that. A lot of things I share with you are things that I've learned from other people that I know work because they've worked for me. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm doing some games this summer. We've got a new summer, well, it's not really new, but a newly assigned summer collegiate league in this area that I just worked a couple games the other day and kind of like that. I worked the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League, and over here it's in Muskegon, and for various reasons, I kind of got a little bit tired of that league, and so I decided I don't really have a desire to go out there. It's 45 minutes from my house. The games are at 7 o'clock. They're lucky if they get done in 3 hours. Then I get back, and it's late, and I got to step away from it, right? That's the thing. I'm going to cut that. I know it's I don't know, $150 or whatever it is for doing it. Some guys are, whoa, $150 for a game. Yeah, you got to do that. Sometimes it's not worth your money. A Division I non-con will pay just a regular season game, but it might be a mid-major here. It might be $375. Great money. I mean, everybody can use $375, but sometimes you wonder how much is it worth the $375? I've gotten to that point, and I know some people are like, hey, man, quit complaining. You get a few of those kind of games, but sometimes you're like, yeah, you got to take a day off, and you got to drive, wherever the heck it is, and you got to deal with certain situations, and you're like, I don't know, man. Sometimes it's not worth that. But I do appreciate the opportunities that I get, I guess. So This past year, I was able to work a game at Northwestern University, which was really cool. I always kind of want to do that. It's not terribly far from my house, about 3 hours. I mean, the traffic is not good, but that was really cool. And the game went fine. There's no issues or anything like that. So that was a very cool experience as well. Had a great time working my Division III Regional. Everything went very smoothly, and we had great weather and everything, and didn't have to play the if game on Sunday, so that was always nice. So that was a really great crew I had there. So that was a lot of fun as well. I had a good year assigning, for my high school games. It was quite successful there. Rich Fetchett, who does most of the Division I assigning in this part of the country, Big 10, Big 12, and MAC, and lots of other leagues and stuff too. He was assigning the Division III here this past year, so he had picked that up the last 2 years, and he's decided to kind of give that up. So there is an opening for the Division III coordinator job here in Michigan for the MIAA. So I put my name in for that, asked him if I should, and he said, yeah, you should give it a shot. So, my name's on the list, I guess, to see. I don't know if hopefully they'll talk to me or interview me and see if I fit for that position. So I've always had a desire to get into some collegiate assigning, and so that would certainly be a good entry point for me. And hopefully maybe something else might come about in the future. So hopefully we'll see what happens there. I'm interested to see how that all works out. I'll keep you updated on that if I get it, or if I don't, there's other qualified people out there, so I can understand if they give it to somebody else too, but I think I could do a good job with that. So hopefully I'll get a shot at that, at least get a shot to talk to, the commissioner of the league and tell him what I might be able to offer. So that's what I have going on right now. Yeah. I like to travel. So a lot of the money that I make from umpiring and assigning, I use for traveling. So at the end of July, I'm taking a big trip with my wife and daughter. We're going on a cruise in the Mediterranean, going to several different countries that we've never been to. So I know that that's not a baseball-related thing, but it's always very exciting. I mean, that's what I like to use my funds for. So we're flying into Athens. We're going to do some stuff there. Then we're going to be, on the cruise ship. We'll go to Istanbul and some other places in Turkey. And we'll end up in France as well, in Monaco, in Sicily. We'll be in Italy, of course, and we'll be in Rome and Pisa and Florence and several other places along the way. It's like a 10-day thing, but we added on some days, so it'll be almost 2 weeks or so. So that'll be a lot of fun and a good refresher of things. I feel like when you're grinding it out, either on the baseball diamond or whatever way you're making your money, you got to have some things to look forward to and to know that's why you're doing it, to help pay for whatever it might be. Some people, they're trying to pay for their kid's wedding, or they're trying to pay for their kids' college, or, for me, I'm trying to pay for a vacation, things like that. So I think that's a good way to kind of get you through those tougher times when things get a little bit difficult. And that's what I look at as well. So this is like a big, long intro, I guess. I've got a couple of other things I might try to throw into this particular episode, but my biggest thing is to let you know that I am back, that I'm still doing things in the umpiring world. I'm still umpiring. I'm still assigning. I'm still trying to help Mr. Bruce Doane with his camps and stuff, his 2-man and 3-man camps, and he's got those kind of in the mix right now. And more than anything, I'm still gonna, be there for people if they reach out to me and want my opinion on something or have some kind of idea for a podcast topic. I certainly will be listening to those things. So there you go. Kevin Weber's still alive and still kicking and still doing things in the umpiring world.